So getting this recorded. So I'll just introduce myself again for some people coming in. My name is Caitlin Moose, and I am the coordinator for this year's CFC. And we've got Brian and Shawn here going to walk us through all their wonderful tips and tricks for how to best go about this incredible, intense, chaotic, wonderful 2-week filmmaking process. And that can include everything from, you know, hearing that theme quote and how do you come up with an idea that you can execute on in 2 weeks? How do you find people and collaborate with them? And as well as what do you do with your finished product and how do you take that out into the world after the CFC and really get the most bang for your buck? So really excited to have them here. And all we're doing right now is kind of saying hello in the chat so we can get a good idea of what you guys are doing. I see a lot of writers and actors, which is awesome. I'll say I started out as an actor and found CFC in 2019, and that was how I made my first film, actually. So very cool to see lots of writers and actors here. We've got directors. Yes. Hello, hello. A lot of people in LA, but I do know that we also had some people coming in from New York. So definitely use that. I've seen a lot of you in the Facebook forum already, you know, tell people where you are, how you can help out, because so much, as you can see right now, we're all on this Zoom, so much collaboration can happen virtually these days. That may be the only thing that I feel was good that came out of 2020 is we all learned how to use Zoom, right? So definitely think about that for your writing and your producing, but then especially in post with your editing and your composers, everybody can help out virtually. But I'll go ahead and turn it over to Brian and Shawn, and please throughout, feel free to pop your questions in the chat, and let's make sure that everyone's questions get answered and that you guys feel prepared. And I'm so excited for the kickoff party on next Tuesday, the 17th. I'll turn it over to Brian and Shawn.
Hey, Brian, why don't you go first with introducing, I'm assuming.
You beat me to it. I was going to ask you to. Hey, guys. First of all, just congratulations that you're here. I mean, I can't say enough about preparation and mindset and using the assets and tools available to you. You don't even realize how much you can do before CFC even starts. Any show of hands for who's already been on the website and seen all the past winter films? I see some hands in there. Great. I see some hands that aren't raised. That's an invaluable tool, is to go back and see who has won the previous years in different categories, in multiple categories. I think you're going to be shocked at the diversity of those films, both strengths and weaknesses. You're going to see some things that you're going to question how did that one place in this category or whatever. You're going to see them for their faults, and you want to be in that mindset of being like, that's really true for every festival, whether it's the Oscars or any other festival you've been into. There's always going to be films that resonate with you, and there's going to be films that don't resonate with you. And I'm telling you that because the judges, because that's how random it can feel in that judge's room. But hopefully Shawn and I are going to demystify some of that so that there can be some strategy going into it. And before I ramble too much on, before turning it over to Shawn, I got in as an actor-writer. I'd already been writing for some time in theater, but I'd never written a short film. So I got in as an actor-writer. I did it 4 times. The first year, I'd won a small award, and I was so excited to come back the next year, and then I didn't even get screened. And then the next 2 years, I think I might have, I did pretty well. So that allowed me to be a judge twice. That was huge. So, you know, let's talk. I'll tell you what's going on in that judge's room, and again, kind of demystify some of the selection process and how the numbers can affect your film. Because after we talk all of this, it's still going to come down to, how do you measure success? And to pose yourself to be in a position to achieve that success. If your only benchmark is to win the grand jury prize at CFC, I think you're going to have a hard road. You have a much better chance of attaining that goal by reframing your idea of success. And if success to you is to making the best film that you can make with the assets that are available to you, I guarantee you're going to go so much farther. As a judge, we can tell the films that were made with heart, and we can tell the films that were checking off boxes that felt very strategic to kind of position themselves. So, we're all artists. No matter how many nuts and bolts I'm giving you, I'm not trying to instruct you to build a robot at all. These are just ideas and all that. At the end of the day, the passion and what you're bringing to it as an artist is what's going to make it unique and individual, and that's going to have a huge payoff, not only for its placement in the festival, but for the end product that you wind up with when the festival is over. All right, Shawn.
All right, I want to continue a few threads that Brian introduced, as well as add a few of my own. Before I jump into anything specific, can I get a show of hands for people who are returning to CFC? Okay, a few of you. Who's brand new? Okay, great. So we'll have advice. We'll have advice for both returnees and brand new people. My journey with CFC was similar in that I came in as first just as an actor, and then I came in as an actor-writer, and then a state actor-writer. But I was fortunate to come in with the spirit of collaboration. And for those of you who are returning, you may already have friends who are part of this festival. Great. You may be coming in the spirit of meeting people, meeting brand new people. And so I would encourage all of you to, if you're not already heavily participating in the forum, to get on in there and start communicating with people. And be open, even if you already know people, be open to working with people you haven't before. Brian mentioned the goals, setting goals for yourself for what you want to attain within this festival, and I'm going to circle back to that. But before I do, I want to just harp on this idea of collaboration. This is what I think makes CFC really special. The spirit of collaboration is, the force is strong within CFC regarding the spirit of collaboration, and it really is an opportunity to expand your network and let that be something that challenges you to elevate what you think you can achieve, because it is going to be hard. It will be 2 weeks of turmoil and sleepless nights and murder, mystery, and mayhem. It will be hard, but there are, if you embrace the spirit of collaboration, if you embrace the collaborators who are also signing up to the CFC, which is unique in that way, then they will be in the trenches with you for those 2 weeks, setting aside the other things that we all have to juggle in our lives in order to get to the finished product. And that brings me to, what do you want to achieve with that finished product? Some of you, maybe what you want to achieve is meeting new people in the industry. CFC is perfect for that. See item A, already listed. With regard to what you want to leave the festival with, ensure for yourself that you are setting goals that are within your control. One of the things that is within your control is having a finished film, or being part of a finished film that you put your best work into. So that has to do with time management. There's a lot of other things that will have to go into that, but you know how to measure what your best effort is. And you can point to that finished product and say, that was a success for this reason. I am proud to share this for this reason. So that is something that you can hold on to as a win from participating. When I came in as an actor, CFC was a bit smaller then, not much smaller. So it's been kind of awesome. But when I came in as an actor, there were fewer actors that had heard of it. And so I think in that year, no, the first year, it was actually a friend who pulled me in. But the second year, I think I did something like 6 films as an actor and my own. Yeah, Brian remembers. People kept going, that she's up there again. But I did a lot of films. And so that was something that for me felt like success, as well as having a film of my own that I was proud of. But the next year, there were a lot more actors that had heard of it. There were a lot more actors who were signed up just as collaborators, not as filmmakers. And so I didn't get cast in anything outside of my own, even though I had won the acting award the previous year. And so if I had been coming in with only the goal of getting cast, which is not within my control, I would have left that festival feeling like I had not gotten anything out of it, or I had lost, if you will. So if you are an actor and your goal is to get cast, because I think somebody did actually drop that in the chat, then do everything that is within your control to ensure that, network heavily, make sure people are exposed to your work. And if that's not quite it, have a backup plan. Have something else that you can do that is totally your own doing, in order to feel like you've accomplished something from CFC. Now, all of the different aspects of filmmaking, all of the different jobs have something that is within their goal within their control as to set as a goal. Life beyond CFC is what you want to be working towards. This is, think of this, whatever you participate in, whatever film you participate in, think of CFC's screening for the judges as opening night. And you're hoping for a really long run. So be thinking of where your project and where your participation can go after here. And again, if you don't have control over the finished product, find another way that life after CFC will continue. Like maybe it's working with someone again, or working with somebody that if you didn't get cast, you thought their work was cool and you strike up a communication with them. That's something that's within any actor's control. Make sure you meet that person, strike up communication with them. Anyway, so that's basically what I wanted to make sure to share at the outset. Is it's really important to have in mind something that you can leave CFC knowing that you did. So who's got questions?
This is great. I feel like we got our mission statements out of the way. So Shawn, if you're cool with staying unmuted if you want, and maybe we'll
Sure.
just, start relaying our experiences and tips, and I think that really starts with prep. I'd like to talk about assets, especially from being in the judges room. You know, we see 70 films I think I saw last time I was a judge. 80% of those tend to be 2 people talking in an apartment. There's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, still my all-time favorite film is Shawn's, which is that therapy film,
Yeah.
Where it takes place in it's people talking in an apartment, and it's absolutely incredible. But as a judge, anything that flashes out that makes your film stand out is going to give it a little bit more attention. So now is the time to start thinking about, that uncle who has a boat, or, is there a tractor, or one year I went to New York, because anytime you see something outside of LA, again, it's different, and it gets a little bit more attention. And that doesn't just have to be on the grand scale. I'm naming some big ticket items like, booking a flight across the country. But another year, we just went up to Free Location, which is up by the Sierras. So we had the mountains as a backdrop, and that was a pretty outstanding free location.
Yeah, I have to jump in here and say, anyone who hasn't seen High Ridge, please go watch it. Go to, I think it's the 2019 grand jury winner. It'll be at that little on the website. Just please go watch it.
Yeah, I think you'll see everything that Shawn and I have been talking about. I mean, it's it was one of those and there's no surprise to me that that was a film that was a result of 4 years of being in the CFC. Because at that point, I had gotten a lot of stuff out of the way of just like trying too hard and trying to hit everything, but at the same time having the advantage of how can we make this different. So one, we just went for a pretty insane backdrop, which was Mount Whitney and all that. All of these things come with tremendous risk. We were looking, so much of CSC is just problem solving, right? So we're looking, how do we make this film grand, visually grand, without having a huge crew, camera package, whatever. So we let nature do the work. We had a buddy holding a reflector, and that was about it. We spent all of our money on, I think, gas and props, just to get up there, which is a couple of Western timey things. And we scheduled it for 2 days in case we had a weather bust day. And sure enough, the first day, the wind was blowing so hard, none of the takes were usable. And also, if you're shooting outside, you're just using, you're looking for that golden hour. So our shooting window really was only 2 hours. So we prepped for it and then shot within that 2 hours since we had no control of the light. When we were all done, we basically had the same thing that would have happened in an apartment, which is two people having a conversation. So the next thing we did to break that up was we did a little montage sequence, and this is huge for producers, and I imagine a lot of you are going to be doing some element of producing work on your films. Is what we did is we said, let's get a Western set. Well, actually, Julian Lesser, I should say, even though I won these, I'm really in partnership with that director. I'm really more of the writer actor, and he's the director producer. And I was like, yeah, it's never gonna happen. And sure enough, he called around and asked a bunch of favors, and we got a Western set for like 4 hours in Santa Clarita for $200, because the guy had just finished building it. And he's like, yeah, I want some credits on this thing. I want some, this is going to get out there. And I'm sure Julian told him, oh, this is going to be seen by so many people. We also promised him the footage. So we gave him the footage afterwards so he could use it to showcase, here's how my location was used in a shoot. So I have tremendous respect for all these disciplines, the writing discipline, the actor discipline, the producing discipline. You definitely want to find out what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. Whatever your weaknesses are, start buddying up with someone who has those strengths. And for me, that's Julian. Julian will knock on anybody's door and ask them anything. He'll go to a gas station and be like, hey, can we just shoot in the front for a little bit? And I can't believe how many people say yes to us, especially when we get just right outside of Hollywood. You get into Lancaster, Santa Clarita, you get into the mountains or whatever, you'll get yeses. In LA, people are wise to it, so you won't get that as much.
And I want to elaborate on that, and I think that goes back to what I was saying about like embrace the spirit of collaboration, embrace the element of CFC, because playing to your strengths is vitally important, obviously. But when I mentioned like allow the challenge of collaboration to elevate you, and if you seek outside of yourself somebody who has strengths that you don't just throw money at a problem. Don't just throw like maybe you don't even have it, but don't just throw like $500 or $1,000 at like, I don't have this location. Instead, see what you can do to either find somebody who can get it for you, who's willing to partner up with you, like Julian and Brian do, or find another way to have your story, like letting nature solve the, elevates let the location elevate the conversation, or pivot the story around that. Some of you are going to be in control of the story, some of you won't, but let every challenge be an opportunity in these 2 weeks to deepen your story rather than avoid that. Like like lean into the challenges. Because I know thank you for the compliment, Brian. But I remember for the film that you're talking about, I was like, I've got $200 to my name. I don't know what to do. And so the story that I or the themes that I was already thinking about, unfortunately worked with the quote that you're with the themes that I was already thinking about. I was like, okay, I'm going to lean into the intimacy of not having any money. And fortunately, there is such a depth of talent with all of the professionals that have been attracted to CFC this year and in past years. And so again, don't just throw money at it. Don't just hire a DP. See who you can find who's invested in this project, and their investment will show on screen. If you throw money at a problem that's a shallow solution, that will also show on screen. That's somebody ticking off a box, like Brian was saying earlier.
Yeah, I think a lot of us wind up sitting back in that position, in this situation, whether you're an actor or writer, and you're being like, oh boy, I hope people come to me, or, use me, read my script. Anybody want me to direct your scene? Come to the table with something. You're an actor, you want to act. I bet you you look at what you have accessible to you. Again, I'll go back to the big ticket things. My uncle has a boat, there's a cabin and whatever. You bring that to the table as an actor, boy, I bet you're going to get a conversation. You're going to chum the waters if you have these big ticket items. And, I wish I could think of better stuff that's free, because I'm making it sound like, hey, I have a rich uncle that has this or whatever. But I guarantee you have something. If you can juggle, that is a huge asset. If, find a way to work that into a story or whatever, or let the other team think of that. Somebody writes back, hey, I have a whole wardrobe of 1920s outfits. Your phone's going to be ringing off the hook, so look at your assets. There's a lot, there's always this risk of getting stuck in this loop of being like, just waiting by the phone. You got to break yourself out of that, because you would be surprised at how many assets that you already have right now.
No, that's a really, really good point.
Oh, no, I just wanted to hop in and say, yeah, exactly, about when it comes to being resourceful, think not just about locations, but everything that you have, and especially for those actors, all the stuff, that the special skills on your resume, tell people about it. And a great place to do that is in that Facebook forum, as well as the kickoff party on May 17th. It's a really good time to meet people and say, hey, I sing. If you're I was talking to someone, they're like, hey, I would love to do a comedy singing musical film this year. And I was like, count me in. Like, that's the kind of thing I know. I see people talking about ventriloquists, and like, that is so amazing. You've got a ventriloquist dummy and you can do that. Like, yes, I want to see that film immediately. But I'll let you guys wrap that up. But all I was going to say next is about the theme quote that'll be released on May 17th. So if you guys have any ideas about taking inspiration or how to incorporate the quote in the films, I was going to lead the conversation that way next.
No, that's great. And actually that when you're saying like the kickoff party is a great place to meet people, that reminded me of something that I wanted to encourage you guys to do as well. Like when you're chumming the water, to borrow Brian's term, bringing your assets to the table, that is part of the pre-work you can be doing before you know the theme. And be specific about it. Don't be scattershot. If somebody's post intrigues you, strike up a dialogue with them, so that when you see them at the kickoff party, maybe it's not the first time meeting, but it's a re-meeting of, oh, we've been talking. Oh, but here's a thought I had while we're talking again. So the kickoff party is great face-to-face time, but you can be doing that pre-work already. Like, what are things I have at my disposal? What are things I can offer? Who's cool that I might want to meet in person and that I might want to work with? So taking inspiration from the theme, I so admire CFC's commitment to the quote and to themes that have to address the quote. That doesn't mean that you're locked into the literal of the quote. You can still to the earlier points of like working on something that you're passionate about, working on something that has deep meaning to you, there are multiple ways to interpret literal words so that things that you are passionate about can find their way onto the screen. So I would encourage you to look beyond. This may seem obvious, but really do take it to heart, I hope. Look beyond the source material to a deeper level, and how it relates to you specifically, and how it relates to you will relate, if not directly to everybody else in the audience, will relate to them somehow because it's so personal to you.
I'll say two things about the quote that I think is just a huge strategy thing. And also from my experience in that judge's room, if you completely abandon the quote, or you make it so abstract that we can't tell as judges, the judges will often be like, yeah, but they didn't follow the quote. I mean, that is part of this. It's part of the rule set. That is part of the objective of the CFC. So so just be careful how you navigate that. I definitely think, if whatever the quote is, whatever your first idea is the same first idea that 90 other people came up with. So I really think once that quote comes out, it's fun to spend a little bit of time and start looking at your 5th, 7th, or 20th idea that is spawned around that quote, and then how you're going to incorporate the quote in the film. There's been so many clever ways. Usually it's a piece of dialogue. And as judges, the judges all talking, they're usually listening for that piece of dialogue, or at least they're looking out for that quote in some way. It's cleverly been written on a napkin and slidden across the bar. You'll see there's all kinds of creative ways that we've seen it incorporated. So I would encourage you to, when you incorporate that quote in the film, that it's noticeable. It's not too subtle, because you'd hate to really knock out this great film and then have someone be like, yeah, but it looks like they just made a film separate of the CFC. This didn't feel like part of this whole thing where people are making this film based off this quote.
Yeah.
So
it's going to sound like I'm contradicting you, but I'm not. You don't have to use the quote verbatim. I'm sure many of you know that already. And in looking at this film beyond CFC, what really is jarring when you're watching the submissions is when it's shoehorned, when it doesn't fit. So there are clever ways to do it, but make sure that it fits the story and it feels seamless, so that were you to show this at another festival after, which I hope you all do, that nobody in the audience will be like, what? Where did that come from? What's that thing on the napkin? And be totally taken out of your story. If it feels clumsy to you, then trust it will feel clumsy to the judges, and that will feel like checking off a box. Yes, obviously make it idiot proof, but don't make it awkward. Make it part of the story. For example, if I can just use a little example, in one of the festivals, and the quote was something like, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was something like, holding two truths that seem contradictory and accepting both as true, or having two pieces of information that seem contradictory and accepting both as true, like so, something like that. And those words were not, hey Joe.
Hey, it was double think is the idea of holding two contradictory ideas though at the same time. It was
Yes.
the double think. It was the George Orwell quote. That's what it was.
Yes. Thank you so much. That was going to bother me.
Go ahead.
But that quote, those words were not in my film at all. Instead, it was simply like looking at two people looking at their lives and knowing, or coming to the realization that the actions that they were taking were completely counter to what they wanted. So holding two pieces of information and accepting both as true. I want this, but I cannot. Thank you. I want this, but I cannot have it. Yet I want it. You know what I mean? So if you integrate it into your story, that's also going to elevate your final film.
Yeah, that in my opinion, you're looking for that trifecta when it works thematically, and then you've cleverly, and I do think this is a test of a filmmaker, and you've cleverly found a way to deliver it in some fashion, and whether it's not verbatim, at least it's recognizable as the quote. Um, I hate to be giving away other people's ideas, but what if one person starts a quote and another person finishes it? And again, I'm saying that quote, I just mean that idea. That's what's so great about Joe's quotes are always malleable enough that you can really kind of shape several different type of ideas or themes or not this you can set up many different setups and plots, and genres work with that theme. And even better if you hear that quote and you're like, what am I going to do with this? This is impossible. It's a great place to start. That's fine. Calm down, take a few breaths. I don't think anyone has ever been, get stumped for too long, or else you guys wouldn't even be here as actors and artists and writers. And I want to talk a little bit about editing. Here's the thing with that quote, this is, I wish somebody would have told me. Have some safeties. Shawn said make it bulletproof. This isn't theater. This is film, and what's great about that is that you can have some safety cuts. You can have some safety edits. Put the quote here. You can put it somewhere else or whatever. So at least you have options on where you want to, interject it later on. I know a lot of people have their screens turned off, but let's jump into the writing aspect and the approach to that. What do you think about that, Shawn?
Sure. I actually, Caitlin, I know there was a couple things that we definitely want to touch on. I also want to ensure that we're addressing people's specific concerns as well as providing general information. What is the balance of question answer and sharing information that you'd like us to do?
Totally up to you guys, and I've been keeping an eye on the chat. The only question was about using the quote verbatim so far. So if you guys, everyone watching, if you want to pop your questions in the chat and we can address those as we go along. But otherwise, you guys are doing great.
Okay, great. And then you'll let us know about those, because we won't really be able to keep an eye on the chat while we're talking. Okay, good. And speaking of, I think some of you are exchanging information in the chat. I'm going to try to ignore it from here, but I think some of you are dropping information, contact information in the chat, and that's great. Just make sure that, because you won't have the transcript of the chat after, if there's anybody that really wants to talk to each other after that, you're actually grabbing that in the moment. So approaching an approach to writing is sort of like trying to catch a mosquito in your hands. It's everybody's different, and it may feel super elusive. What I would suggest is that if you are coming into this as a writer, that you have in mind at least 3 or 4 or 5 broad personal themes prior to the kickoff party, things that you'd be happy to put into a finished product, and then let yourself be inspired further by the quote. Like, don't have a specific story in mind, because then you might be disappointed with the quote instead of feeling really glad about what you get. So you can have, however you come to a story, whether that's thinking of a cool protagonist or it's thinking of a particular current event or whatever, but have like 3 or 4 or 5 things in mind. For length of final product, obviously the CFC has an outside time limit, but don't feel like you have to fill all that time, and don't feel like you can't. You might find that your story is done in a couple of minutes. There have been a couple of some films that were like 2-3 minutes, and I was like, that was amazing. And there have been some 6-minute films where I was like, they could have cut off 4. So don't feel beholden to the time limit. Don't feel like you have to bend yourself into certain parameters. and definitely have backup plans. And if you are not writing your own film, you can also be open to contributing, because it is a 2-week project. Be open to contributing either in the pre-production stage or on the day with making that script better, because everybody will be happy about that. There are no bad ideas, and the best idea will get used in the spirit of CFC.
Yeah. I'd like to talk a little bit about professionalism here too, because there is no reason not to rise to the level of industry standard professionalism, even on this scale. So that communication process, everything's happening so fast, it should not stop you from still making sure that you've read all of the rules and the guidelines so you don't miss anything. Maybe assign someone to that, a producer or whatever. But it's what we did we had a great producer, and I was blown away. Everyone got deal memos, and that may sound crazy, but I there were several projects I worked on where and I'm sure everyone's been there, when it came to edits, or when it came to credits, there wound up being some disagreements or hurt feelings or whatever. And deal memos exist for exactly that purpose. So starting out with deal memo saying, hey, you're going to get sole writer credit. This way, if anybody else comes in and wants to contribute, then that's going to be a new discussion. That's not going to get really awkward at the end of the film. It's going to happen right now. Hey, it's going to be co-written or whatever. Is that cool or not? The amazing thing about writing is it does not go in the trash. If your film does not get made from that, as Shawn can probably tell you, there are so many pieces that wind up being used in something else of mine or whatever. So writing is a great thing to do, just because it's never going to wind up on that. It's always yours. You own that and you possess that. It's always an asset that you're going to have, and that you can pull it out for something later on. So that's what I think is really so great about the writer element is you've built a property. You now have this tangible item that's on your computer that you can show other people or expand upon after CFC. So definitely jump into that writing game strong, and make sure that you have all of your paperwork in order early, because that's not something you want to be scrambling with when the deadline is coming to you. So as long as we're talking about stuff that you can do now, getting all of your ducks in a row, now is the time to think about post-production. Mm-hmm. Because guess what? In that second week, everyone's going to be looking for an editor. That's not when you want to start looking for an editor. So once that kickoff party happens, even before that, everyone's sharing information. If you haven't screenshot this Zoom, you should probably do that. Start getting that communication out there and getting your post-production ready from the kickoff party, so that
or before.
And actors, I'm talking to you. You probably have an editor friend or something like that. Again, anything you can bring to the table. And I'm targeting actors because the people who are going to have the most fun at CFC, hands down, is the actors. It is a blast. I've been in 4 or 5 projects. Shawn had that one year where she was on the screen film after film, and you'll see that at the screening. You'll see the same people popping up, or then she had that experience where she won Best Actress, and then it was dry the next year. So you never know. But the acting game in CFC is the best ticket, in my opinion, as far as having fun. All the other stuff, there's usually a lot more, and going in as the filmmaker and nursing a film along all the way to the end is a lot of stress and a lot of work. Highly rewarding at the end of the day, for sure. But I think you'll see a lot of calls out there for being like, hey, I'm an actor. And I think to put yourself in a good position with that, again, is going through your assets. And one of those assets can be like, I know someone in post-production. That being the case, make sure, get them signed up in the CFC. So again, and this is a rules thing, is so that you're having as many CFC people collaborate. I know, one year there was a link, and I don't know if you fixed this or not, Joe, or if it even matters, but on the Facebook page, it included a lot of people who were in CFC the previous year, but they weren't signed up this year, and we didn't know that. So we're just going through that Facebook thing, like pulling these actors and all that, and then we were doing the paperwork, and like 4 of them, we only had 1 person that was signed up for the CFC that counted as a collaborator, and so if you're an actor or you're bringing actors in, or if you're a director and you're casting people, get the people who are signed up for CFC this year. Get them who are signed up this year, because that's how you're building those. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me just jump in and, Joe saying something?
Oh, I was going to say that, you can also, people can sign up for the CFC while it's underway. So
Right.
if an actor joins your movie and they think they're doing well, it's like, yeah, you can have them sign up and then they can be eligible for a prize. Rule number 1 is, of course, you can't win anything if you aren't signed up.
Yep. So you'll see some amazing performance up there, and then that person's not on the ballot, and you're like, what happened there? I'll tell you what happened. That person never got their paperwork done and never signed up for the CFC, and then they lost out on an opportunity to win an award because they never signed up. So make sure actors sign up, and as casting people, try to get actors who are signed up. If they're not signed up, get them signed up. It's a very small amount of money for a very huge opportunity in the end.
Sure. Just as like a bit of housekeeping for anyone that may still be a little unsure about the rules. So you know that you can sign up as a filmmaker or a collaborator, and collaborators are there to get on as many sets as possible, work on as many projects, and that's their collaboration requirement, is just to help out one other person. Whereas a filmmaker, in order to be eligible for the screening and for the prizes, please make sure that you are collaborating with one other person on their project and having another person collaborate on your project. So you're working with 2 other people at least, because we're encouraging collaboration and meeting new people. So as Brian was saying, make sure that those people are signed up for this year's CFC so that it counts towards those collaboration requirements. And then also that way, those people can have the opportunity to be eligible for prizes as well. And you can sign up all the way until film submissions are due. So make sure you got people on your team signed up and they can win those prizes.
Absolutely. I see somebody posting in their FX and makeup. I mean, Oliver, yeah. I mean, this is, you guys are getting it. This is the stuff. Those people, you'll be in demand. Horror tends to be a strong genre in past CFCs for sure.
And speaking of, everybody who's sharing what they have, their assets here, be sure to do that again in the forum, because I'm certain that, I'm sorry, I've lost the name. Was it Oliver? But whoever had the SFX makeup, the FX makeup, if you post that in the forum, somebody's that's gonna plant a seed in some writer's head, and they're gonna be thinking about that when the quote comes out, and then all of a sudden it'll be flash in the pan magic, and they'll be looking for you. So yeah, be sure to reshare on a broad scale what you can bring to the table, and people will start thinking about it and thinking about how they can utilize that.
Someone's asking if they can use a writer who's not part of the CFC for whatever reason, and correct me if I'm wrong, Caitlin, but any aspect of the crew can be a member of CFC, participating or not participating. You just want to make sure in your guidelines that you have at least a minimum requirement, and it will tremendously improve your experience if you get as many people directly with CFC as possible, because they're in these chats, they're they're already on board the program. They're not going to go way left field on you or whatever. They're going to understand the whole concept of what's going on. This is a very fast train. You don't want to catch people up. So anybody who's at the kickoff party is ready to go. Everybody in this room right here is being caught up. You guys are going into this, while other people are still, waking up. You guys have this is great.
Yeah, and
But
just to
no, the writer doesn't have to be.
right, and that's a really good point to make. But this is also a good opportunity to say, don't bring somebody from outside of CFC out of fear. Like, if you really can't find somebody, or you really need you really need this particular writer friend in order to get the thing going, then totally cool. Of course, that's why the rules are set up the way they are. But let CFC's pool of talent be the first resource. I would encourage you to do that anyway, because that, again, the thing I was talking about earlier about, like, oh, I'm afraid of this problem, I'm gonna avoid it, or I'm gonna throw money at it, that is not necessarily elevating you beyond where you could be already. You could write with that person, and you could work with that DP any old time. CFC is introducing you to a brand new pool of people who are ready to work with you. There's a director I've worked with a couple times now who I would never have met outside of CFC. I just really needed a director, and before that he'd been a sound guy. He was like, I've wanted to direct. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because I was certainly not going to direct myself. And we had a fantastic experience, worked on a couple other projects together. So it would never have been possible had I gone outside and said, okay, I don't know who I could possibly get to direct me. I'm going to call somebody I've already worked with. I would have had, I'm sure, a great film, but it certainly wouldn't have been a brand new experience that pushed me.
Yeah, and now that we know that you can get them to sign on at any point, I think they're, if you do want to be going out of CFC, just sign them up before that deadline thing, so they have an opportunity to win an award.
Yeah, and just to finally hammer this point home, so as long as you fulfill the collaboration requirement, like I said, helping out one other person and another person helps you, you are free to go outside of CFC if you need people to fill in other spots. But again, this really is an opportunity to build your network. It is a ton of people volunteering their time and equipment. So we had a question here, if you guys would like to address about budget, and if there are kind of any either limits to what you should put into this, or if can you make a no budget film. So maybe talking a little bit about that, and that's something else to consider when you're pulling from these incredible people within the challenge.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about budget for a second. It's in the judges room. It's we're all affected by different things, but there were some pieces that were incredibly grand that looked terrifyingly expensive, only to talk to the filmmaker later to find out that this one guy shot this incredible special effects thing, like in this boat warehouse thing, and he won some award at that year. We talked to him, and he, like, I think he wound up doing it in an afternoon. That was a place that his somebody had, and he does all the special effects on his computer at home. So it I can't imagine anyone's throwing a ton of money into these projects, but if you have whatever your resources are, if you're a billionaire, go for it. Why not throw a bunch of money at this thing? I would say that's usually not what we're seeing. So and it's also, to be honest, nothing that you specifically need to worry about. I would say plenty of films do extremely well with people spending no money, and so I'm sure some films have tanked terribly where they wanted spending a lot of money. That's true in Hollywood, and that's true for everyone. So it's I think we're money obsessed anyway, so we're always going to look at those and be like, oh my gosh, that's no fair. they had access to the to the Eiffel Tower, and then you find out the person, is a janitor at the Eiffel Tower, and they just, they happen to have access and shot there. So, so yeah, use the assets, use what you have, and don't worry about what anybody else is doing. That is a distraction. Anything that distracts you from doing the best thing that you're doing and pursuing your specific vision is a distraction. So put that stuff aside and just know that you're doing the best that you can do, and that's what's going to be the biggest payout in the end.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. There is no should, and I don't believe there's a limit, but there's also no bottom limit. I'm somebody dropped something in the chat about quality, meaning making the best use of your resources. I think that's a really great idea. Also, a really great idea is to keep out of your mind the idea of should. Make your story to the best of your ability, and hopefully it won't break the bank. And relying on the bank to break through to the screening and the prizes is not going to guarantee success either.
Before I forget, oh, go ahead, Caitlin.
Oh no, if you're gonna forget.
Oh, I was gonna add, since there are so many actors here, and we're talking about the professionalism thing. Find out ahead of time, and producers and everybody else, please be courteous to the actors' wants and wishes. You'll never know why a person may not want to be credited or may not want to be credited in a certain way. I had a bit of a pickle when I jumped into somebody's short film and they gave me a really offensive character name and put it up on IMDb, and my agents were mad. My family looks at that, and I had to have a conversation with them and be like, hey, and that was really my fault. I should have had that conversation before jumping into that film. I'm not even going to get into the SAG, non-SAG stuff like that. Like everyone's going to have, you're going to see a lot of different opinions or whatever. But I think as artists, we are used to this. Get the obstacles out of your way, make the film however you can with a good heaping tablespoon of sense of courtesy to everyone that you're working with. And that, I think that can really play into credits as well. So have those conversations and be honest as actors, what you're willing to do and how you want to be credited, etc.
Yeah, that's it. That's a really great point. It brings me back to the deal memo thing and the clear delineation of responsibilities. It can be very tempting in a breakneck speed CFC film festival to roll past a lot of things that are really necessary, like taking care of the actors on set, like communicating very clearly with your team, setting expectations and fulfilling those expectations, setting reasonable expectations that are attainable in the time frame you have, and meeting those expectations. For credit, deal memos will take care of that, because nobody's going to sign something that they don't agree with. And if you have your team members in place early, ideally, but when you get them, make sure that they know what you expect from them. So not only like telling people what you are doing and making sure that, making sure that they're clear on when you want them to show up, but also after the shoot days, what is the timeline, so that you are not up all night, or you're not on either side, whether you're on somebody else's project or your own, you're not up all night wondering what the other person is doing and whether or not you'll be able to get your project that you're participating in submitted on time. So
Yeah.
Communication is essential, and it has to be consistent. It has to be ongoing. If you are a texter, all of your communication is by text. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about, so that people know how to respond and what the time frame is for each communication.
Don't forget you're building this network. The Julian Lesueur, the director who I partnered up with, that relationship came about because of CFC, and that was the project where he was in New York, and we had another friend that was in New York, and I was like, hey, do you want to do this thing? It's called the CFC. I have an uncle that lives in New York. We can, maybe shoot at his house, and from that relationship, Julian and I now have a working relationship, and we're pitching to studios, and that all came about because of the CFC. So you really want to think beyond CFC, which is what Shawn is talking about when she's talking about collaboration. You want to work with these people again. Like, how many of my jobs have I gotten because somebody knew me? I just flew to Colombia for a 3-week shoot. Time of my life. Do you think I auditioned for that? I did not. Somebody knew me, and it's the same way I was in Arizona on a Western for 2 months because somebody knew me and I knew how to ride horses and this other stuff. And they had an actor. Their actor actually couldn't ride a horse, so I got called in on a pinch. But I so many jobs are from people and that's what all this is about.
Yeah.
Collaboration, building those relationships.
I think it also, and I know we've been talking a lot about how CFC is unique, but this it really is in this sense. The pandemic has brought so many new things in our lives, and recently I was reflecting upon the fact that I couldn't think of a time when I'd met somebody at a party and then actually worked with them. Like, sometimes you wind up talking with them and maybe there's an idea floating around that maybe you'll work with them someday, but it hasn't happened yet. I've always gotten new jobs from working with somebody in a class or on a set or whatever, but always working with somebody begat other work. This is the only festival where you will meet somebody at a party and work with them. So take advantage of that, because that work will beget other work.
Absolutely. So we've talked about the preparing for it, and we've talked about the writing and how to position yourself to get to do what you want to do on sets. Also expand beyond that. If you're just an actor but you're kind of good at makeup, that's a great way to collaborate. If you're, to assist on these other sets. So not only think about what you can do really well, but if there's something you're kind of good at or have wanted to get into, just be honest about what your experience is in that, and then you may find yourself on a, shoot doing, art PA or something like that, and you're getting your collaboration credit there. And if it sounds like, oh gosh, that's just a day, all I'm doing is help arranging pictures in the house or whatever, that relationship with that director just turns into anything, especially if you're an actor.
Yeah.
You have that reel and you're handing that off, and then you're building relationships in any way you can. And then of course show up and do a great job on that set.
Yeah, and that's another tangent related to what I was talking about with this being a unique opportunity to like have a party and then work from there. Like, if you are an actor, you don't the collaboration that you do in this festival, again, what's within your control as an actor, the collaboration that you do within this festival doesn't necessarily have to be acting. I know that's our passion as actors. I'm the same. Where like there are other things I could do, absolutely. I can edit. There are other things that I can do, absolutely, but my passion is acting. However, paperwork is kind of thankless, and there are so few producers, actual like hands-on assistants, like passing out the deal memos on set while the producer's off setting up crafty. That could be a really useful way to collaborate and build a rapport with that producer, who I'm sure would be looking for an actor on the next project that is still working with that person, even though you're not working as an actor in that capacity. And I have gotten acting jobs that way as well.
Somebody in the beginning put, I'm really good with SAG paperwork. I mean, that's like amazing, that
Nobody likes paperwork. Do that.
do that. And and a lot of things that seem so intimidating wind up not being that intimidating once you kind of get into it. For sure. And the CFC makes it pretty great with your file accessibility. Once you're pre-print off those sheets, as again, we're talking about what can you do in prep. you're nuts if you have not pre-printed out all of your sheets right now, so that they're there on a folder on the day, so that you're signing people out. The last thing you want to do is be rushing the deadline to turn in your film, and then like emailing people and say, hey, can you docu-sign this PDF of your collaboration on my film or whatever. So get that paperwork prepped now.
Yeah. Yeah. And somebody dropped I graphic design in the chat. With regard to post-production and how you can collaborate now and later, nobody thinks about it, but everybody needs a poster after. Everybody needs their how they're going to represent their film online. So that's something else that you can also do to ensure that you are collaborating, that you're meeting with other filmmakers in this 2-week period to further relationships down the line.
Go to set and take pictures. I think I see that posted
Yes.
a lot. Hey, shooting Friday at a rock quarry. Need photos taken. Well, thanks to technology, your iPhone, probably do a decent enough job. Just unless somebody has a better camera or beat you to it, but set photos.
Yeah, I always something that slips through the cracks and is really valuable.
Someone says, can I change my collaborator status to filmmaker?
I can jump in on that if you like.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you've already signed up as a collaborator, just email me at the cfccoordinator1@gmail.com. I'll pop it down in the chat, but I'll give you a code so that you're only paying the difference to sign up as a filmmaker, and that'll get you signed up that way, but without paying more. You're paying the difference more, but you're not paying like that and the collaborator one. Hope that makes sense.
By the way, the filmmaker does not mean the director or anything like that. The filmmaker in this designation is the person responsible for turning in that product at the end of the day. Of course, if you work that backwards, that means you're also the person getting the director, the actors, the paperwork, everything else. You can be an actor and you are the sorry, what's the term? And you are the collaborator. You are the
if you're the filmmaker.
You're the filmmaker. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're the filmmaker.
You can be a filmmaker from any position. It's just, are you the person submitting your film?
Yeah. And that's the person who wins all the prizes. Like, you should look in those details. I think, like if you are the filmmaker and you're an actor and you called a director buddy and you did all this stuff, your film wins the top prize. It doesn't matter if you said 2 lines in the script. You're the one who's walking up there taking the check and the award because you signed up as the filmmaker, not the director. So the filmmaker is a great position to sign up for, and then you just got to do some producer work and get everybody else together to make your film.
You do, although you can still be the creative producer. And so, for example, if you are acting in your film, then you can still set up your team so that on the day you are not the one handing out the paperwork, because you'll be actively filming on, like, in front of the camera. So make sure that if that's not something you're comfortable with, is like acting in and then having to put the producer hat on to make sure that all the signatures are collected, then you have a producer as your collaborator who can do that for set days. So you are home base as a filmmaker, but you don't necessarily have to do all of the, I'm always with the metaphors today, all the base running to collect to collect everything that you need. That can be a really strong partnership to have somebody who is doing that for you.
You're just responsible for it, but there's your delegation skills come into play, and that paperwork's handy. CFC actually puts you in a really nice position because it's a lot of the same paperwork that's needed for festivals. So getting that mindset as well. Think beyond CFC. What do you want to do with this film? Be courteous to your actors. Try to get them the footage. let's also face it, a lot of people, once that deadline happens, usually it's like, oh, I never got to color my film, or there's some last little thing that you still want to do to it. So make sure you have that mindset as well. You can, obviously, if you want to submit the film to something else, you're now free of all the CFC structure. So if there's a scene that you had to take out to meet that under 6 minute requirement, whatever 6 or 6.5, whatever the requirement is, you can put it back in afterwards, and then submit it to wherever. And there's some other byline stuff that you need to make sure that you do, but you might also want to alert your editor just when that deadline comes. CFC is done, but you may need them to still clean up sound or do some sound design or do all the stuff that you just cannot logistically get done within that limited time frame.
Yeah. And something else that you can be doing in this pre-work time, speaking of like talking to your editor after, is like get into the nitty gritty. If you're a filmmaker, get into the nitty gritty of the team members that you need to collect. If you are wind up having a fairly short turnaround time, or you are not editing your film yourself, like it would help the editor to have DIT on set. Especially if the editor, him or herself, is not going to be able to be on set. So be in communication, get a full list of the team members you think you need, try to think about who could fill those positions, and make sure that you're setting up your post-production team. If you are not your own post-production team, make sure you're setting up your post-production team in the way they need to streamline their work. And all of that is going to need planning, because once you're in the thick of things, time is just going to fly by.
I was like, time flies by, and definitely my tip and trick for everybody would be, in that Facebook forum, and once you start getting emails, try to respond as fast as you can, because having done this as a filmmaker in the past, if I didn't hear from someone within a certain amount of time, I had to go with the next person. Because I can't, if you're trying to say find an actor, and I think you're perfect for the role, and I've reached out to you, but I don't hear from you yet, I'm going to have to ask another actor, because I don't have time to make sure that it all comes together properly. So I think CFC is a really nice little microcosm of Hollywood, because you want to be super responsive, and these are the kinds of people that you want to work with. So that's just always something to keep in mind. I see a question about how small can crews be and still maintain the integrity of the collaboration.
Well, I think Caitlin, you answered that in part, in that you only need to have one other filmmaker collaborating on your, or one other collaborator from another project, and you need to collaborate on somebody else's. So crews can be, there's no real restriction on crew size. You need the number of crew that can complete your project.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of one-man bands in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's its own novelty. We'll go back to the challenge with strategy, and I saw somebody put a question there about, hey, how do comedy scripts do, or sci-fi and drama and all that. The problem with positioning yourself is that you don't know what anyone else in the race is doing until after the race is run. So you don't know what, if everybody made a comedy and you made a comedy, it's not really fair to kick yourself afterwards. That's just gonna happen. If you did your film as a oneer and there were 7 other people did their entire film as a oneer, then you're maybe not standing out the way that you had hoped. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just a gamble. If you want to do, I think as Shawn was saying, play up to your strengths. By the way, that should release you to give you permission to do what you want to do. Because if you compromise what you want to do to meet some strategy objective, you're positioning, that's putting yourself in a tough position. I would definitely encourage, do your vision, do what you want to do, take your preference, and then you can't worry about the rest. The cards are going to fall where they're going to fall.
Yeah, it won't be useful brain space to try to anticipate what's in the judges' heads or what they're gonna like. There's no way for you to know.
You know,
So
and I've been in that judge's room and I've been jaw dropped sometimes, and I realized one of the reasons is because I come into that as a filmmaker. So what do you think is going to check off my boxes? I see some sweet camera moves. I'm also coming from the acting writing department. I see some incredible performance, and all of those are going to just be peaking for me, and I'm going to be like, oh, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this. Uh, the year I was a judge, there were some people were they were from TV or whatever, but I remember their comments had a lot to do with, oh, this is like a show, or this could be a show, and I was like, I really had to wrap my head around, oh yeah, as judges, we're all in the industry, but we're going to have different things that appeal to us that we're going to give higher marks to. So what really appealed to them were projects that felt like they could have legs, projects that felt like they could be taken from the CFC film and turned into a series or turned into a film or something like that. That really appealed to them. So again, that should just free you up to do whatever you want to do, and not worry about, trying to please the judges too much, because I think it's an awkward road to try to go down.
Because I do think really the point of that is there's no way to know.
No way to know.
So just write your film.
Let me see. I think I saw something else in here. If you can do sci-fi, I think those are fun. I will say the stuff that we, I was thinking there's going to be an unfair thing that happens on the screening night. Is on the screening night, comedies are going to get huge reactions because that's an expressive reaction. The real thinker films, you may be sitting there and be like, boy, this bombed, because you didn't hear a lot of audience reactions. So it's going to be it can be an odd experience. What happens in that room, the night of the showcase, whatever you want to call it, where they screen the select films, the top voted films, that night is a very different experience than what us judges have, which is usually sitting on our couch and watching this thing with headphones on a laptop. So I guess my point in saying that is it can be a little bit dangerous of taking on that night of watching the films that are showcased and just using the audience reaction as a barometer, because you're always going to hear, the comedies are always going to seem like they're killing it, and it's a lovely night because there is no better after party of a festival, and I can't believe more festivals don't do this, where all the filmmakers, artists get to join together in a full room in a big theater and have that joint experience, and seeing so many people that they worked with up on that screen, and then seeing their names in the credits and seeing their hand behind that work. So whether your film gets into, if you're a filmmaker and, there's so many films there, odds are of your film getting in become less and less as more and more people join CFC every year. So don't sweat it. Don't take that as a hit if your film doesn't make it. I know, I had a year where my film didn't get into the screening section, and someone's like, "Are you still gonna go?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I'm gonna go. Why wouldn't I go? Just because my film didn't get in? Of course I'm bummed it's not gonna get screened, because I want, we're all doing our work, not just to show our moms. We're doing it so it can be seen." And just had, an amazing night at that screening. So it's gonna be a good time, that the screening party, for sure.
Yeah, and two things, maybe three on that. With regard to headphones and the screening, don't ignore your sound. It is, some films like ride or die on the sound. It will be glaring when on the big screen, but we're like, judges are also listening with headphones on. So if your film can't be heard, or if it will impact the subjective impression on the judges in a way that perhaps might not be obviously apparent. So get the sound person in place, not just your set sound, but your post sound.
It's really tough. Oh, go, please, finish yours. Finish yours. You got a couple.
Yeah, there was, I think I lost one, but one of the others was for those that don't get into the screening, it's not necessarily a reflection of the quality of the film. Last year, someone reached out to discuss their film that hadn't gotten in to the screening after the fact, and we just had an honest conversation where I was like, I loved your film. I loved it. Since you have more time, I'll offer you this and this and this, but I thought it was great. I think, go take it to other festivals and it will do well. I'm sure it will resonate with audiences elsewhere. So again, there's no way to know what the reasoning is behind those that screen and those that win prizes, and there's no way to anticipate that, but you will find someone who appreciated your work and who wants to talk with you, whether you screened or not, who wants to talk with you at the party after, or that you want to talk with at the party after. So these are all opportunities, regardless of a physical outcome from having participated. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, go ahead, Caitlin.
No, I was just going to say, yes, please don't let the screening be your end all be all. I didn't get into the screening in my first year. That was my first ever film I had made, and that got into some other festivals and won, some acting awards. So please, like they're saying, you need to go in knowing what would be success for you with CFC, and don't let the screening and the prizes are wonderful. And I'm so happy that we have all these different offerings and work with so many great sponsors. But the real, I think, winning is the community. And there are so many people that just by participating in CFC, you're putting yourself out there as someone who gets things made and wants to be working on sets. So people already know that you're the person they want to come to when they're ready for their next project. And the networking is so fantastic at both that kickoff event as well as the screening and the after party. So please definitely come to all of those and keep your questions coming in the chat.
Yeah, Sylvia's asking how many films are submitted versus screened. These numbers are kind of interesting because a lot of films, a lot of people go into making a film and they either don't get completed. That happens as well. And again, you didn't die on your sword. You just you didn't meet it for CFC, but you've still collaborated, made a film. You can finish editing on your own time and submit to whatever other festivals are out there. But I think the year I did it, don't cancel us. Oh yeah. I think when I did it, there were we looked at like 80 some films, and I want to say 20 were screened that night, or 23. Joe or Caitlin, you want to give an idea for people?
Is 17.
I was like, Joe's breaking up a little bit. I think he said 17, but yeah, that kind of like 15 to 20. We try to keep it to, I think, an hour and a half runtime for the screening. Yeah,
and the reason that not all the films are the full 6:30, so the more shorter films you have in there, then the more films get in that night. I would also watch the credits, the amount of time that the credits are rolling up. The flash screens really well. Definitely you want to show some courtesy to your crew and not make the credits unreadable. But, keep in mind, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a Star Wars slow roll of those credits. It's a short film, and kind of keep it appropriate to the short film credit length. You can always make it longer later, and I think that's especially again, you want to show this courtesy to the cast and crew. So if you want to just really barely eking in your 6:30 and you feel like your cast and crew kind of went kind of fast through there, you can slow it down whenever you move on to festivals, or you give them a copy, or you put it up on YouTube or wherever you want it putting it up at. And that's another thing as a courtesy. You should let your always run those. As a look, everyone's working for you for free. At the very least, you owe them as a filmmaker is that courtesy. And I don't mean to say anyone's been mean in the past by not extending courtesy, but it's just that in the fog of this war and the freneticness of getting it done, sometimes we forget all the things that are in our control, like making sure, everyone on that cast and crew credit list, their name is spelled right. I think an easy way to do that is just to send the list to the cast and crew before you do your final crunch on that. And actors and everyone else, not a bad thing for you to follow up on. Hey, just want to my credit on the film. This is the way I'd like my name in there. Because sometimes our names for the CFC, or people may be pulling your name off of Facebook or something like that, and that's not your stage name that you want to go with. You know what I mean? Or let's say it's a film you don't want to be, you don't want on your IMDb, whether it's because of your agents or because you're trying to build yourself as this bad guy thing, and now the film you shot is a musical. Just you can always just have some stage name. I think I've used some fake name before for a film that that wasn't working with with everything else I was going on the path of my career, because we want to open that door to as many people to express themselves however they want to express themselves and be able to jump into whatever they want to jump in. That's what's so fun about this playground of filmmakers.
I think, was that the tail? Sorry, I had to step away for a hot second, but was that the tail end of crediting people how they want to be credited? Yeah. And speaking of the making it comparable to, or at least within reason for the length of the actual film, it doesn't have to be a slow roll credit. You can also get creative about how those credits are integrated. Maybe that works with your comedy film or whatever style of film that you're doing. Maybe if it's a horror film, all of a sudden, like towards the end or somewhere in the beginning, like credits are in mirrors, who knows, or puddles, or they start falling out of the sky, if it's you know what I mean. So like it can still be something that you embrace as a challenge.
I think that's a great point. There is no limit to outside the box, especially if you're there's so many different ways an actor can walk through a door. So
and there can be credits on that door. I'm just kidding.
Shawn with the credits. Enough with the credits. So this outside the box thinking of, like, what Shawn is talking about, we're talking about positioning your film in the best, to give it its best chance. And that's that mentality of being like, oh, how can I make my credits thematically appropriate to the rest of my film so it all ties in? If it's a thriller, then it's it's in smoke and mirrors. You do not want to wait to finish your film to have those ideas. You can, if you're already dead set you're going to do a horror thriller, now regardless of what that quote is, right now you can be thinking of a clever way and getting a post-production artist on board of doing some creepy sequencing of those titles, for sure.
I just want to hop in and say, when I think people see the 6.5 minute limit and go, okay, I'll just put the credits on one slide and not worry about it. And that's totally fine for CFC. And then, like Brian said, you can add in your wonderful credits for future festivals or on YouTube if you like. Another thing is, I think people see that 6.5 minutes and are like, okay, I have to make a 6.5 minute film. You don't. Make a 3-minute film. It might stand out more. I think of that short Lights Out. I think it was 2 minutes, and it's just completely went viral and launched his career. So definitely don't feel like you have to go to the long side of things just because you see those time limits.
It's amazing how much more time you have when you do make a 3 or 4 minute film. That cuts down everything. It cuts down your shooting time. It gives you more time in editing to look at multiple. You have to make so many less sacrifices whenever you don't tease that 6:30-minute mark. You know what I mean? So nobody does it. I mean, I feel like I'm talking into the wind here. Everyone's going to make it. Let's face it. Everyone here is going to make a 6-minute and 32-second film and then cry when they have to chop 2 seconds off of it and then bemoan that. If there's any way at all you can make a 5-minute film or at least start out looking to try to make a 5-minute film or a 4-minute film, you're really putting yourself in a much better position. And as judges, watching all those films, most of the time they felt like they were too long. Most of the time we felt like, oh, they could have cut a little bit out. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's not to say that some of the 6.5-minute films didn't feel really rewarding. But it's sort of like, it goes back to that question of like, what size should crews be? What size, how much money should we spend? I think we're all coming back to the same answer, which is as long as it needs, as much as you need, to start from the story, and allow yourself to think outside of the box, to think outside of your realm of friends, to think outside of what you've done previously. Let the limitations be opportunities instead of challenges, I suppose, even though it's CFC.
Trying to see if there's something else in here that we've missed.
Mhm.
Yeah, Joe made a good note about, I think it's Joe in there, about you can do virtual collaboration. Don't forget, if you've wound up, killing yourself on your project and then everyone shot their films and you still haven't collaborated, there's still other ways you can collaborate in post and
Mhm.
in other ways as well.
Post and
Especially,
the poster, someone said they did graphic design, so all of that would count for your collab
especially
point.
yeah, especially if you're an out of town person. I can't tell from these, but in the past we've had some incredible contributions from people outside of LA. So that's an outstanding way to utilize people from outside of LA. If they cannot come to somebody's set, you can still participate in some virtual way.
And I want to say, I know, I think it was Juan in here saying that sometimes people will commit to something and then cancel. If you guys have any insight on that, that would be great. But I do know that Adalisa, if you see on our Instagram, we've done some filmmaker spotlights, and she said one year she had 5 DPs that she went through that all canceled last minute because they kept getting jobs outside of CFC, paying gigs. So just one after the other, people kept leaving. I know I had an AC couldn't make it, and I had a location dropout. So things will happen, and it can be, that's what we're saying. It's a very intense. It can be chaotic to get the 2 weeks done, but we definitely have lots of people that want to help you out. We've got me and Joe that want to help connect you to people. We've also got sponsors. We have a new sponsor this year, entertainmentcareers.net, that is letting us do upgraded posts. So if you really are struggling and can't find anyone within CFC to work with your schedule, you can post a crew call there. So we definitely want to make sure you have every opportunity to get your film made and get the people that you need there with you.
Yeah, that's an excellent question and way to be thinking ahead. Backup plans is the way to handle people who cancel last minute. There are certain positions which are going to be necessary. Obviously, DP is one of them. But if your DP gets hired out, then you'll have at least people that you can ask after that, whether it's your own acquaintances, or Caitlin can help you with that. But no, hope for the best, yes, but plan for the worst. Don't have your project hinge on anyone other than yourself, is, I think, probably the best advice I can give you in terms of what if people cancel.
Yeah, it's the other thing is how are you attracting people? If you post is need a DP, compared to someone says, hey, need a DP on Friday from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. We're shooting in Malibu. Promise good lunch. Whatever additional thing you can incentivize there, then you should do it.
Yeah.
For sure. It's the way you're
And
wording your asks.
Yeah, and thank you. That is something I wanted to touch on too, from something that Caitlin had said. Um, people are less likely to cancel last minute if they're already invested in CFC, and so we're really talking about people. This happens more frequently when you don't when you're not working within CFC, when you're calling people from outside, like somebody you've worked with. Otherwise, they're more, because they don't have something they're already invested in attaining from CFC. If another job, and they don't already have that time set aside, if another job comes along, they're going to go and do that. Now, all of us would, there's always a line where if we were to be offered some opportunity, we've got to take that one. But everybody has something that they will find value in that you can offer to limit the cancellations that you'll get.
Yeah, there's some great stuff in the chat. Mohammed Malik, you definitely embrace what CFC is all about. Doesn't have any film experience, but they work as video game producers. You're gonna better believe these guys are gonna kill it if they jump on your project as a producer. Especially if you, because there's a lot of stuff that we know, but we can't do all the things. It goes back to delegating. If you're an actor, I would grab Mohammed Malik to be my producer because I already know the stuff that needs to get done. I just don't have the time or bandwidth to do it. And seeing someone who's already a producer in the video game world, it's going to be no problem. He's going to crush it. And another filmmaker was asking, how do you balance if you also need to collaborate on other projects? Meanwhile, your project is taking up all of your time. Am I wrong that the filmmaker, are they collaborating on other projects or just one project?
So they are doing their film, but then they also need to collaborate on one other person's. But that could look like so many different things that, like we've already said.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you may be jumping in a little bit light. I did, and everybody understands that. If you're a filmmaker, you're focused on your film. I still guarantee you're gonna be able to, set aside a night for something, even if it's like, hey, I'm a filmmaker, send me your cut if you want some editing critiques or collaborate in some way or with a poster or even doing some producer work. Like I'm done with my editor. If anybody needs an editor, you can help coordinate that, and that's kind of a producer way of participating.
Mm-hmm. And this is all part of like being reasonable and the team that you're putting together. Some people who have only one hat to wear will be able to collaborate on a number of other projects, especially if the one hat that they're wearing only takes one day. If your responsibilities encompass the entire 2 weeks, then back to Brian's point, you can still collaborate for a couple of hours somewhere. Just make sure that if you commit to something that you yourself are able to fulfill that commitment.
Yeah, just a note about that. So when the completion of the challenge is June 1st, and when filmmakers go to submit their films, collaborators also have some forms that they need to submit. And this collaboration form is how we keep track of who has collaborated on the most number of projects and with the most number of people. So you need to keep track of who you help out for a full day, a half day, or a favor. So like that, if you're just giving feedback for an hour or something like that. I had about 10 actors last year send me little voiceovers, and that was a favor. So anything like that, if you have a job that you're trying to work around, or your filmmaking is taking up a lot of your time with your own film, there are still a lot of ways that you can fulfill that collab requirement.
And especially, again, being creative. Don't forget there are other people that need to collaborate. So make sure you're throwing out requests for help, small ones too. I'm in post, somebody give me 10 doorbells. Boom. You've got somebody, a collaborator being like, I'll collaborate for an hour. They'll go online, and they'll drop you 10 MP3s of doorbells, different sounding doorbells. So, let's also remember as filmmakers, make sure you're putting your asks out there, and you're not operating in a void. Anything that you post in the Facebook chat, you're gonna get 10 answers right away. So these are great questions to ask here. Do not worry, and I'm not concerned. You're going to be fine. I just wanted you to know you're going to be fine. To all these questions, you're going to be fine, because there's a lot of resources, a lot of people willing to jump in and give you an answer. And if there's one thing you might also consider doing is the moment this is over, the moment you've turned in your film, jump on your laptop, spend a good hour writing down, this is what I wish I would have done. This is what I'm going to do next year. This is what I'm going to do, whatever. Because it doesn't, even outside of the CFC, it can help affect whatever your next project is, whatever it is that you're jumping into.
Yeah, and speaking of next projects and jumping into those actors who are tossing out some of their special skills, like I saw somebody drop in the chat, accents. A backup plan that you can have with that particular special skill is, perhaps it doesn't happen in this festival, but that is a theme that needs a writer, like somebody could write to that for something else. And so the depth of talent at CFC, whether it cements into you being able to act within this particular 2 weeks, doesn't mean that an idea that's sparked from sharing it doesn't get realized later.
Yeah, Shireen is writing about as a first-time writer, how can you get your script in there so it gets part of the CFC and gets made. I think we have so much enthusiasm for us. Shawn and I both have gained so much from the CFC, in career-wise, friendship-wise, collaborating-wise. I also don't want to oversell it. I also want to be the reality so that when you face obstacles, you're not going to be like, they said it was going to be a party. It's so much richer than that. I will say, in my experience, I do think writers can have a bit of a bigger challenge, because everything is off and running. So you may see a lot of newer writers say, hey, trying to walk the delicate balance of, hey, I have a script, I don't want to show it to everybody, because I don't want, people can feel all kinds of different ways. Paranoid their idea is going to be stole, et cetera, et cetera. You have to navigate that, and that's going to be part of your growth as a writer, is navigating this world of having an idea. Do I share it? How much do I share? How do I connect with people? If you're a writer, I'd go down that list of directors, and I would start hitting directors. I think you're going to find most people are pretty professional anyways. In the writing world, we talk about this all the time. People spend the majority of their time paranoid that someone's going to steal their idea, instead of just getting their ideas out there. If you're a good writer, you're more than just your one good idea. I'm also not saying don't be ridiculous and just throw all your ideas out in the world. There's a smart way to do that. But now's the time to make your mistakes. No one gets through this process unscathed. So just go, go, go. So if you're a new writer, sorry, I've lost the person's name. If you're a new writer, still position yourself. When that quote comes out, do your thing, do your writer thing, do your brainstorm list, have some synopsis, have some ideas. Already have that email list of directors. Maybe you've already contacted them beforehand. And then send them whatever you're comfortable with. Man, if I was a director and I got a synopsis that was way better than the one that was in my head, boom, you're going to get that call. And at the very least, you've made a connection. So,
yeah.
So go, go, go.
Yeah. And I would suggest, as a writer, if that's your sole gig for CFC, that I really want to emphasize what Brian said. That was something I was going to touch on. Don't write your script in a bubble. Like, write it while already communicating with other people who might want to work on it with you. Because if you isolate yourself for a couple of days, bang out a script you're super happy with, and then you spend another couple of days trying to get somebody to read it, that's a week already gone for CFC, pretty much. So let alone then trying to get a team together to shoot scripts that get written later and don't have, or get written and don't have a team around them already, rarely get made. So
Yeah.
let that be let the conversation of who will work on this with me be part of the writing process.
And if that happens, that idea does not go in the trash. That goes in your Bible of great ideas that you had. Nothing
Yes.
is wasted. So I know maybe it should be a better name than the film. We keep on saying competition or whatever. It's not. It's a filmmaker's challenge, and your challenge is to do the best that you can do with the resources that you have, and walk out of this thing with the least amount of regrets you can possibly have. That's your only goal here. That is your only goal here, is to do your best and walk out of this thing with as few regrets as possible.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Also, we've also been talking about like having a finished film and having a finished product. Your scripts can live after this too. There are script competitions. So if all you get out of CFC is a script you're really proud of, then that also can have a life after, and a team built around it after, and do well in competitions and gain awards elsewhere, have readings around it. I just wanted to really quickly tack that on, because I think that's an avenue that we could overlook that is really valuable for writers.
Alejandra, insane post. I mean, I'm a Latina actress, fluent in Spanish, in New York City, have a Canon Rebel T3i, mic, LED lights, and a green screen. I mean, these are the posts you want to put in Facebook. You're really positioning yourself, as a writer, as a filmmaker, as a director. I have an image in my head, and already stories are starting to form. You know what I mean? This is great. You guys make sure you're not just posting these here.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, guys, be putting everything in the Facebook forum. And we've got about 15 minutes left. So please make sure you're asking all your questions in the chat. Speaking to what Shawn was saying about a writer kind of finding a team, if you kind of go into it saying, hey, I think I'd really like to write a comedy, and then you're finding a director or an actor who are also very clearly into comedy, that's kind of how you can chat with people in the Facebook forum before you even get to the first networking event, and kind of be making obviously stay open to possibilities and be flexible, but that way you can kind of find your people before you even get settled. If Brian and Shawn want to kind of talk about that first kickoff event, because I just want to say, you come in, doors open at 6. It's a nice we've got drinks and catering, and it's a great way to meet people. You'll have a name tag that says, hey, I'm a writer. I'm looking for a director, a DP, an editor, and everything. Please help me. And then you can go find people that way and see exactly what they're looking for, as well as, again, meeting those people you've already connected with on the Facebook group. And then the quote is announced at 8 o'clock. We'll have Joe, we'll tell everyone what the theme quote is, as well as kind of like a little welcome, talk about our sponsors and the rules again. And then it kind of becomes a little bit chaotic after that, as everyone goes, okay, we know what the quote is. We know exactly what we're going to do now. Let's go. So what do you guys say about the kickoff party?
Yeah, it can definitely be a whirlwind. Go in. I feel like I'm repeating myself with planning ahead, but go in with 3 agenda items that are, again, within your control, that you can leave having accomplished, so that when the night is over, it's not just you still waiting to put certain pieces in place, but you have a next step already lined up, if not a couple. And be specific about what those are. Not just like, I'd like to find a team, but I'd like to speak to 3 potential directors, or I'd like to speak to 1 fellow actor who I've never worked with before. But you know what I'm saying? Like, be that granular so that you can check it off and know that you accomplished it afterward. Because the party will be great, and it will be a fun experience and a chance to meet everybody, of course. But it can also go by without you having moved your own projects forward or moved your own agenda forward.
I'm terrified of parties.
Yeah, oh God.
Yeah, so it is. So this is what you want to do if you're like me. Play to your strengths. Do everything that Shawn is talking about. I often bring a wing person uh, who meets everybody in the room and then says, Brian, you have to meet so and so, you have to meet so and so. There cannot be a friendlier or more welcoming group, so you're already set off in a great position to do that. But if you're a shy and timid person, and big, loud, noisy places can be intimidating to you, um, that's still okay. Go anyway, because again, this is just a life thing. You got to participate. You just got to participate. Sometimes it's that easy. You will see that person on the street. You'll see the person at the Starbucks. You'll see that person at the CFC shoot, and you'll be like, "Oh, I saw you at the CFC party." It gives you an open to, I didn't get to say hi or whatever, but or you recognize their name tag and you're like, "Oh, you were on the CFC film from last year. I saw that one," or whatever. Um, so that's all I have to say. Is it's another opportunity to participate, and you don't want to miss that. You came here tonight, and it's a gift that you get to keep on opening. Because I'm gonna run into all of you at some point. Probably it's just like the magic of the universe, right? So that's why we get up every day and go out there and do what we do. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have some amount of faith or belief or whatever in something. So yes, go. Just absolutely yes, go, and put on your best best shot, and be open to reaping the rewards that are going to come later.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Shawn.
And I hate parties as well. Terrible. But I usually find for CFC events, I'll usually find my wing person there. And then have that person who is a bit more of a social butterfly, or even if it's just two introverts who are like, okay, we should talk to that person, we should talk to that person. But the thing that helps me is also going in with like, this is my task. These are my tasks, because each participating with everybody, participating with everyone can feel, again, because this is a professional environment, can feel like it's not really moving your agenda forward, is not really moving your profession forward. But if you're specific about it and you recognize the benefits that come from it and allow that challenge to be an opportunity, then even the parties are things that will have a lasting benefit for you later and an eye on the future.
Yeah, the one thing I have to say is also be prepared for success. I mean, you may go in there thinking like, "Oh, I'm not going to talk to anybody or anything." You may be in that position where you have 10 people wanting to use you on their projects, and then you have to deal with that. And I don't even have any great advice for that other than dismiss that idea of fear of missing out. And the way to put yourself in a great position for that to happen is if you do your research ahead of time. If you're already connected with people in the Facebook group and all that, and you already know there's a director you want to work with, then there you go. If you're getting asked to be involved in multiple projects, or there's time conflicts or whatever, then at least you'll be in a better position to choose who you want to work with based off of your investment you did on your research, and being like, oh, this person does musicals. I really love doing musicals. So
Yeah, I definitely love seeing people post their reels in the Facebook forum, your acting reel, your DP reel. That really helps you kind of figure out who you want to work with and who you want to meet at the kickoff party. And another thing with that I wanted to mention is that also right before the quote is revealed, we'll have a raffle for all of those who can attend in person. Our sponsors are giving away some amazing things, like we have a loaner equipment, a cinema camera package. We've got some things to help with mobile filmmaking for people who want to film on their phones. So all kinds of things come in person, so you can take advantage of the raffle opportunity there, as well as, of course, the very important networking aspect.
any final burning questions? Thank you for everybody that wound up sticking around for the the full 2 hours. I know some of it can almost start to seem redundant, but it's, you know, it's still important again that you showed up and you're here. You're already on the right track to really putting yourself in a good position to achieve whatever your objectives are.
Yeah, and I know, Caitlin, we're going to be wrapping up soon, but I would actually love to hear directly from a few people. Is for those of you who have your videos on, if you wouldn't mind just unmuting yourself in order and introducing yourself, name how you're participating, and what idea you're pondering at the moment, good or bad. Anything is allowed. So Brian Wallace, would you go first, please?
Hi, everyone. My name is Brian Wallace. I'm signed up as a filmmaker and collaborator, and I'm the paperwork guy who is posting. So if you need paperwork, I'm pretty good at SAG paperwork. I've been just doing it. I learned by doing, and now SAG has a micro budget agreement, which for films that are like between 3 and 6 minutes is probably the one you should use. Also because it's immediate. You know, a short project agreement can take 2 weeks, and I think that they invented the micro budget agreement because I kept using short project agreements for like $20 movies. So anyway, I'm just looking to. We usually tend towards comedies. I'm signed up with my partner Matt Mitchell, who couldn't be on the chat tonight, so we'll probably try to do something comedic. But I'm just looking to meet as many people as we can. This is our first time doing it, and so we've just always kind of learned by doing. So as much collaboration that we can recruit for our movie, and anything that we can do for yours, just hit us up.
Great. I'm just going to sort of go in order to help facilitate the unmuting. And just so everybody can speak, name, in what fashion you're collaborating, and one idea that you'd like to share, good or bad. And then that will also enable Brian and me to respond to that idea if we have something to say. James. Oh, unmute, please.
Hi, I'm James Lee, and I'm a writer, director, producer. Pretty much, you have to do everything to make a CFC work. So my background is mostly post-production, but I've been working in TV and film for a number of years. This time around CFC, I signed up as a collaborator. I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough time to be a filmmaker, but I'm looking to help people. I can edit. I have Adobe Premiere. You know, I did COVID-19 on an iPhone, you know, with some actors that are veterans of the CFC, like Nika and Asia. And so pretty much I can work on the fly if anybody needs anything along those lines. If you don't have like a proper camera package and you need somebody on the fly, can basically DP that on iPhone. I have the most advanced one right now and get you some good images. So let me know if you need some help, and I can write. So
DP on the fly. Awesome, James. I'm going to cut
Okay,
you off right
thanks.
there. But great. Thank
Okay.
you so much. And Carlos? Oh, you're still muted.
Oh, what
Hey,
was the question?
sorry.
Sorry.
Name in what way you're signed up to collaborate, and one idea, offer or ask that you'd like to share.
I say get that script written as soon as you can. You need that as soon as possible, because that's the thing that'll put everything together. That'll pull everything together. And the one thing I ask is like I need actors, producer, sound. Sound is the most important, but hard to come by.
Perfect. Eva Marie?
Okay. Anything else?
No, you're good. Eva
Okay.
Marie?
Hi, I'm signed up as a collaborator, but I'm probably going to switch to filmmaker this year. And I've been here before. I love to help out. So I can do acting, I can get you food, I can do, you know, I just love helping out. My ask is I really need someone who has not wild special effects, but some knowledge of special effects for editing. That's what I really need.
Fantastic. Thank you, Eva Marie. And offering to get food, that's unique. David?
Hi, I'm David Chernyavsky. I'm a first-time CFC filmmaker. I'm based in LA, and right now, I guess what I offer is I'm an actor. So that's what I primarily do, voiceover and stage screen stuff. But you know, I've been making films and sketches and shorts and stuff for a while, so I can offer in many capacities. If you really need something or in a bind, let me know and I'll see if I can help. I love helping people out. What I need for my film, I'm going to be doing something pretty funny, goofy, like a dramedy vibe. I've got some great ideas and I've got some great people involved. So if you're interested in having a good time and just laughing lots, I'm looking for kind of talk to some people already, thankfully, producers, maybe an AD, and I definitely want some sound and hopefully get some lighting people.
Awesome. David, if you're good at sketch, you could, I'm sure, punch up somebody's dialogue. Colette?
Hi, I'm Colette. I'm participating as a filmmaker and a collaborator. I live in Las Vegas, but I'm going to be in LA next week for the event. And yeah, I'm really looking for actors and cinematographers right now. And I can contribute in terms of writing or script editing, like story development, or also as a video editor for anyone looking for that.
Amazing. Patrick?
Hi, I'm Patrick Duncan. I'm in the LA area. I'm signed up as a collaborator. Primarily, I want to write and act. I'm looking for, directors, filmmakers that I can support. I've been helming my own projects for a very, very long time now, and I've decided that, I kind of want the experience of helping somebody else get something done. So I will be writing, and as my schedule allows, I'm going to jump onto as many sets as I possibly can. I have a lot of experience producing and some experience as an AD, so I can help somebody. I can be that extra set of hands for people.
Patrick, as a producer, you could facilitate maybe David finding sound. Forgive me about the pronunciation, Bodan?
That's good enough. It's Bohdan, but it's way too tricky. Bohdan recent moved to California, option screenwriter, moving on to features mostly, but I'd like to keep my directing blood flowing. So if there are projects or scripts that would sound interesting, I'd be definitely happy to envision them. I've done the whole process. I do professionally post-production and all different parts, composing, scoring, and so on. But really, my focus is in keeping my directing blood flowing. So if, I'll put my website in the chat, and if anyone's interested in connecting, I'm close by.
You sound like a good partner for Patrick too. Laura?
That's terrible timing, as you could probably see. I'm bouncing around in a van in the middle of bloody Tasmania. I'm flying back into LA next week. I'm primarily an actor and want to get into directing, so I signed up as a filmmaker with no idea what the hell I'm doing. I got introduced to the second week and managed to get into it. I've made my own film once. I'm willing to jump in on absolutely everything, but otherwise I'm just very excited to meet people and hopefully try and make something.
I would love for you to make my outgoing voice message or change my Siri accent. Juan? Oh, Juan's video's off. Forgive me. Jojo?
Hi, I'm Jojo again. I just moved here about 6 months ago from New York City. I'm classically trained, but I'm also very funny, and I'm really excited to be here and just to meet everybody. I also have produced, I write, I had a theater company that I ran, I've done costumes, I'm a theater person, I do it all. If I don't know how to do it, I'll learn how to do it. And I'm also really outgoing. So if you need somebody to talk to people, I'm your girl.
Jojo, so, wardrobe coordination, often overlooked, definitely helpful. Jessica? Or Jessica May?
Hey. I'm also Australian originally, but I've been acting in LA for the last 10 years, and this is where I call home now, and I can switch accents back and forth and do regional dialects a little bit, so enjoy. I'm primarily an actor. I have a 4-year-old son. So the last couple of years of the pandemic, I've mostly been doing film projects, film festivals, things like that. And I have a theater background, so I'm very into the whole collaborative project scene. So if you need patience and help, I'm there as well. I am also the person who can do voiceover and graphic design and things like that. So if you need that towards the end of your productions, that's great. But primarily, I would love to be an actor. If you do need a minor, I can pull the 4-year-old in on some stuff. And if you don't, that's fine. He can go to dad.
That was exactly my question about whether or not your son is a performer. Brian?
Okay, I am hopefully trying to come in as an actor. I'm new to this whole industry, just moved to LA last month with no one but my cat. So I have nothing but free time to sit down with you, even if you just want to bounce off how your script is sounding. Even if I'm not an actor, I'd love to offer just that ear or the person to drive around to look for different places we could film, talk to people. So regardless of what I do, I'm just trying to get involved on someone's project. So feel free to message me.
My brain immediately put you in a film talking to only your cat because you said all I have is my cat. Teresa?
Hi, I'm Teresa. I am an actor and I'm also based in LA. This is my first time and I'm just learning as I go also. So I'm completely open for the next 2 weeks. Completely ready to collaborate anywhere I can, just learn the ropes, even like, again, help with anything I can, even if it's not acting. So feel free to reach out to me and I'm looking forward to this.
Teresa, you're new to LA. Do you?
Oh, I'm from LA, but I'm new
from
to
LA.
challenge. And actually, I'm pretty new to acting too. I've only been acting for about like 2 years, but yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay, perfect. As an LA native, you might have more access to relocation resources than many others. Carla?
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, a ton of family members who live in like downtown LA, so like high rises, like views. So I
woman.
So,
I'm glad I asked. Carla.
Yeah.
Carla, I just came in late to this. I got off work, but I'm here as an actress. I've been in LA for the last 4 years, actually now, 4 years. And I was working production from production assistant all the way up to second AD and occasionally a few times as the first AD. But I want to do more of the acting. I'm definitely open to talking with anyone, talking about any which way I can, same with everyone else. Definitely would love to give my, lending ear out and be a part of any project, as much project as possible.
Awesome. Is it Shireen? Oh, you're still muted.
Hi. My name is Shireen. I primarily ascribe myself to a comedic writer, comedic stand-up, and all of that. But every now and then I do jump in to the actor role. So I can do all of that as well. So I'm here for all of your comedic needs, if you need.
Awesome. And Malik, is that what I'm saying?
Yes, it's pronounced Malik, and this is my brother Mohammed / Mo. He was in the comments earlier in the Zoom. Great. But yeah, my brother and I we're from LA, mostly. We also grew up in this country called Sudan, to anyone who might know where that is, to Northeast Africa. But we live in LA, and we don't have any sort of major sort of film experience. The two of us wrote a couple of short films a couple of years ago through a class we were taking. But we're really passionate about film. We work as video game producers, but film and video games are our two sort of biggest passions. And we work in video games at the moment, at least on the side, but we're hoping to really start getting some film experience this year, particularly, in terms of this event, I think on the producer end of things, but definitely, our brother and I like writing and are happy to give creative input, writing input, feedback. Whoever's a writer on these short films that we work on, we could sort of definitely collaborate with them to some extent, or we're willing to be a sounding board as well. But all things producing that we're really excited to get our hands on, and should be cool.
Awesome. I don't know what I didn't see the chat comment, but some less familiar with what aspects of game production that you do. But all of a sudden now I want to see the Australians as voice actors in your game. Did we miss anybody? Oh,
Hi,
sorry.
I'm Dawn.
Hi, Dawn. And then I saw the hand raised. I'll get back to you. Dawn, go ahead.
Oh, hi. Sorry you guys can't see me. I'm actually driving and I don't want to risk turning it on. I did CFC for the first time last year. You can see my pictures in the Facebook group. I put a little post up with my headshots. And I just moved to LA right before the pandemic. And at CFC last year, I came on at the very end, but I was able to get as an actor in 2 projects, and it was super fun. I'm excited to be ahead of the game this year and back. I'm primarily trained actress, trained in theater and every type of acting, and as well as improv. I went to Groundlings here, and I'm also a producer. I've been during the pandemic, I pivoted to full-time producing for a company, a production company, and I'm just a resource on all levels and love to collaborate and help everybody everywhere I can. And I'm excited to be in projects. I mean, but my most passion is if you have any acting role, I don't care what it is, I'm totally down to help you out.
Perfect. Stay on top of those message boards.
Yep.
Forgive me, is it Hari or Hari?
Yeah, it's Hari. Hi everyone, nice to meet you all. It's a really nice session. I signed up as a director, a filmmaker last year, but I was absolutely new to filmmaking, and only after entering the competition I found out that it's really hard to you have to strategize, and you got to pull some strings together to form a team and stuff like that. And I ended up assisting another filmmaker on their set. But this time, after that previous year's experience, I'm just, I guess, more energized and trying to, at least this time, make a film in those 2 weeks. That's my target. And, I have signed up as a filmmaker again this time, and I'm currently trying to assemble a team, a core team, at least, before the kickoff meeting. And in addition to a filmmaker, I mean, I offer like script analysis, script critique, although I'm not a writer per se, but yeah, so this is what I do. And glad to meet you all. It was such an illuminating, enlightening session for me.
Awesome. Amy, we'll wrap it up with you. I think you're the last one with the video on.
We've got Bernie with her hand up too.
Oh, Bernie, go ahead. And then Amy. Did we lose Bernie? Maybe Amy and then Bernie.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Amy, and I signed up as a filmmaker this year. I'm excited, and I'm I did sign up with my friend who lives in Atlanta. So if anyone in Atlanta or knows of someone else that's Atlanta participating or wants to sign up, she's looking for someone as well. So I'm mainly looking for sound, DP, and location, and I'm excited about the year.
And Amy, I'm sorry, your friend in Atlanta, in what capacity did she sign up?
She's a filmmaker.
Oh, okay. That could be a really creative, even if nobody else is in Atlanta, that could be a really creative finished product to complete, not just through Zoom, but again, this is my brain filling in blanks, but I feel like that could be a really cool project if we embrace that challenge of distance.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie, and then Bernie's the last. And totally the last, because not here.
Bernie, she is.
Okay,
Unmute yourself. There you go.
I'm babysitting at my friend's place. So, okay, so forgive me. Thanks, Caitlin. So I am participating, hopefully, as an actor and maybe as a collaborator, depending. I have a writer I might be working with, so we'll see how that goes. But definitely interested in helping out any way that I can. Last year, I was kind of crafty as well as an actor. So if you need someone who makes good brownies, I'm your person, as well as bringing healthy stuff. And yeah, probably looking for sound and some other stuff. So thanks.
Thank you. So Caitlin, I know we're going over. Thank you for indulging me. I did really want to hear from everybody who not only attended, but stayed for the entire time. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And I want to make sure, Carlos, did you get a chance to speak or want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to talk over anyone. I made a film there last year. I made it to the screening, all for doc, and I kind of did a lot of it. And I kind of want this year to just direct and have everyone, DPing, lighting, everything that's a part of it, so I can not deal with that. So that's been my main struggle. So anyone who has anything beyond directing, please reach out to me.
All for Dog, was that the one with the devil visit?
It was that one, yeah. I emailed you guys for notes.
Yeah,
thank you
it
so
was
much.
so fun.
Well, thank you guys. I hope everyone had a chance to kind of introduce themselves. And like we've said, please make sure that you're putting all of this information in that Facebook forum. We also do have a Slack group that was new last year for those who don't have Facebook. So we're always trying to come up with ways that people can connect. And to that end, just yesterday, 2 days ago, I launched the crew database. So if you'd like for me to put your information on that as well, because we've had a lot of success with our actors database, that way people can see your reels and your resume and everything like that, your website. So just shoot me an email. That's the cfccoordinator1@gmail.com. And I can get you set up there so more people can find you. But thank you so much to Brian and Shawn for coming on and doing this. I can't wait to see what you all create. And if you see me at the kickoff party, please come say hi. That again is next Tuesday, May 17th. And I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have before then. Just shoot me an email.
Thank you, Caitlin, for all you do as well. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Great to see everyone. Bye,
Bye.
Caitlin. Bye, Shawn.
Thanks, guys. Bye.